Today I'm going to talk about building your own house in 10 easy steps. If you're new to my channel, please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell notifications below so you keep up to date with everything. So building your own house is not going to be easy. I will only say 10 steps to build your own house, but each step obviously involves a lot more detailed work. So just take it as it is, but I'm going to take you through this video in 10 steps. Step 1 would be to contact suppliers, and this is based upon what kind of building you want to build. So whether it's a standard build or modular build, where a modular build would be built off-site, so you would already have something that's built off the site, and then it will come in big, kind of like a Jenga, and it will be sorted together. Usually that takes about 8 to 12 weeks. If you're obviously going to do a standard build, then you need to obviously contact suppliers for different bricks, mortar, piling, concrete. There's loads of different suppliers out there, so basically what kind of list of materials you'll need and those different suppliers. So step 2 is based on you already having your piece of land to build upon. I have another video that I'm going to make about searching for land to build on for your own project. But step 2 is basically conditional agreement and planning. So if you already have your own piece of land, this would be subject to planning obviously, and once you have a signed agreement, it will be subject to planning permission. So it will basically be the same like you would a residential house. If you're doing an extension, you go for planning permission, but the build will be dependent on you getting planning permission. So that would be the second step. So the third step would be a site survey. This is usually done to assess the risk before you have any build or any build starts to occur or any demolition starts to occur. So this would take into account the different types of soil you have, the different environmental surveys you might have to do. You might have to do surveys if you have an existing building on that piece of land. Like for asbestos, you need to do a full construction site survey just so that you assess all the risks that are involved, any contamination, things like that. And those are the things you need to take into account when you're doing the step number 3, which is a full site survey. So the fourth step would be a full quotation. This would be kind of you sending out tenders to different people to kind of get them to give you a quote. I would say at this stage it would be kind of turnkey people who are able to give you turnkey developments. So people who are able to build from scratch and give you the keys basically once it's done. So they would do everything from the foundations, from the piling, to doing the structures, to making everything electrical is fine, and make sure the fascias, the brickwork, everything from top to bottom. And that would be step number 4, to try and get a full quotation, as well as you have to take into account any remedial works that you will need to do. So if your survey comes back saying you need to address this issue, you also need to take that into account within your quotation as well. So step number 5 would be when your planning permission is granted. And when your planning permission is granted, then you're able to fully try and get people to the next step, which is mobilization. So number 5 would be when your planning permission is granted. Now the planning permission, they can come back to you and say that you need to change certain aspects of your permissions or your plans before you actually get granted permission. So you have to take that into consideration as well. So if you want to do something like an extension at the back or something like that, and they might reject it saying it's not in keeping with the rest of the buildings, then you will have to go and do another design and come back to them to get it approved again. So they will have their own conditions, and it's good to search which borough or county you're staying and have a look from there as well. If you're able to get contact or know anyone who is in the planning office, that might be able to assist you as well in getting planning pushed ahead. So that will be step number 5 when your planning permission gets approved. Point number 6 will be when you're fully able to mobilize everyone and you're able to get things moving. So you have to find out like a lead time of your project from start to finish, when the average you expect. This is usually done by asking the contractor. Some contractors might say they can get something done within 12 months. Other contractors might say they can do it in 18 months. And sometimes it's dependent on their labour and how many people they have working for them. Also how many projects they're doing as well. So you have to differentiate between who can do it faster or an average lead time basically of your project. But at this stage, once you've got your planning permission, you can mobilise as soon as possible. And point number 7 would be to appoint a contractor. This can be stressful. It can also be very misleading because some people obviously will appoint just one contractor, and the contractor might appoint other people. And within construction, you always have subcontractors. Everyone's subcontractor basically within construction. But as a contractor, you have to make sure you choose the right type of contractor that you want for your own build. And one who is available, one who's obviously very good, and the quality of work is quite good. And it can be hard to find these kind of people. So it's better to go off recommendation, probably find out if you know anyone, maybe it's someone from recommended networking events, things like that. And you can probably find contractors, they are everywhere, but they're usually the busiest ones are the ones you have to wait for. So that's why you search for them beforehand. So step number 8 would be, obviously we start doing everything and you start moving all the materials to site. So whether you're doing a modular build or whether you're doing a standard build, the modular builds, say if you're doing a modular build, then everything will be just delivered to the site, step number 8. And then if you're doing a standard build, it will kind of be materials and everything will be delivered to the site, and that will be your next step. So obviously all the materials and supplies that you know from before, you can either give them to the contractor saying that you want this kind of items from this place and you want this kind of finish, or you can ask the contractor and based on his recommendations. You would obviously have plans and designs and everything at the same time, what you actually want, and you can go off that as well. Step number 9 would be having a site team coming on site. This is kind of like just clearing up everything just before you're actually handing over the keys, because it can be a messy job building a new house. So basically you would have a site team at the end of the time. If you're doing a modular build, the site team will just clean everything up. If you're doing standard build, you're likely to have cleaners, professional commercial cleaners on site, and they will clean everything before you actually move in and before you go to step number 10. So number 10 would be completion of the house and the build, and that would be like when you get the keys. So if you were to do a modular build, it would take about 8 to 12 weeks. If you were actually to do a standard build, it would take about 12 months to 18 months. And that's on average, it would take 12 to 18 months, depending obviously on the contractor and if you have any delays. If you have any delays, then obviously it could set you back in time, so you have to factor that in with your lead time. When you're mobilising and you're planning, that's usually done with the contractor, and you can ask them when they expect to finish, what's their lead time, and how have they done any other projects as well. So the best thing to do is check any other projects they have actually done when you're vetting out the contractors as well. If you love this content and you want more videos like this, please subscribe, hit the bell notifications below so you keep up to date with everything. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment below and I'll personally answer to them.